Hi VC, this is a little response to me and Mr Mayo's quest to show our 78 RPM records, and I was going to show my 78 RPM collection anyway, as a part of when I'm showing my different styles in my collection, but I'm making a little twist in my schedule, so I'm showing it already right now. Uh, as I said in my introduction video, I don't have that many 78 records, but I have a little collection that actually works, a kind of good collection, and I have in two different styles. Jazz music that moves forward, a collection that moves forwards uh, very slowly, but still it moves forward. And I have also in classical music a style that doesn't move forward at all at the moment. Uh, I have, unfortunately, it's been a little forgotten. It's not my highest priority right now to collect classical music, mainly because I have a hard time finding the right records. Most things I find are uh, part 1 of 10 in a box series from one concert, or it is a musician or conductor that's very uninteresting. Classical 78s haven't been my main priority now for a while, but still I have around 50 or 60 of those ones, and I'm going to show a few of them, but most of the records here are jazz. When it comes to 78 record players, my first one was bought in 1993 in a second-hand store in a city called Örnsköldsvik. It is a couple of miles north from where I am right now. We had our summer residence back then, my family and me, and I bought it there. It was a Philips, and it was a little portable 78 record player with the loudspeakers serving as cover for the entire player, and I had it up there to listen to the 78s I bought in Örnsköldsvik that summer. And my father said it was one of the first record players that was released by Philips. And I had that 78 record player for many years. I could listen both to on vinyl and 78s on that one, and I was happy to use it for many years. Nowadays I have a much larger that also a Philips that's right now is placed in my living room. It is in another part of my apartment, so I can't listen to 78 as much as I want to. It would be much easier if I could place it right here, but as I said, it's kind of big. It's a little too big to move around the house like that. So at the moment, until I found a smaller 78 record player, I'll listen to the 78s in the living room. And with those beginning words, I'm going to start showing my classical records, a few of them. Here we have a Deutsche Grammophon, Mendelssohn, Midsummer Night's Dream, the Overture, Berliner Philharmonic Orchestra, Ferenc Fricsay. And here we have his master's voice. This is ballet from Rosamunde with the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra and Wilhelm Furtwängler as the conductor. Wilhelm Furtwängler is definitely one of my favorite conductors. It was the same friend of mine who taught me to listen to jazz music, as I told in my jazz video. that also taught me to enjoy the magic of old classical recordings made before the 50s. And it's fantastic if you music. Actually, I listen to either old recordings or Baroque music when it comes to classical at the moment. Here is from Stravinsky's Firebird. It is a scherzo and a suite. This is London Philharmonic Orchestra and Ernest Ansermet. A Decca record. Another his master's voice, and this is a very special one. It is two piano works by two different composers. It is Song Without Words by Mendelssohn, Opus 67, number 4. And it is Sergei Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor, Opus 3, number 2. And the pianist here is none other than Sergei Rachmaninoff himself, playing on both piano tunes. Here are the classical 7/8 RPMs that I cherish the most by far. This is my only two boxes. This is a 4-album box with Chopin's first piano concerto in E minor, with Arthur Rubinstein on piano and John Barbaroli conducting the London Symphony Orchestra. And the other box here, not in the most perfect shape. It was like this, unfortunately, when I bought it. But the record itself is very listenable and great. This is Brahms Piano Concerto Number 2 in B flat, Opus 83. Arthur Rubinstein and Albert Coates conducting the London Symphony Orchestra. It's also his master's voice. Kind of expensive when I bought it, but still worth every penny. It's great recordings. Here, interesting text sheet. And with that, let's move on to the jazz side and the jazz records. Going to start with a very special recording. This is a song that I liked very much in my earliest jazz days as a child. When I was a kid, I listened very much to jazz program in Swedish radio called JörgenS Jazz Bar. And I think I recorded on cassette every program of it. I think I have all of them still in my, and listen to them once in a while. And in my very first the very first program that I listened to there in 1988, they played Bob Crosby Bobcats' "Who's Sorry Now," and I listened to that song many times. I think I was very happy to find it on 78. On the other side is an even more famous Bob Crosby recording, March of the Bobcats. But I bought it mainly for Who's Sorry Now, because it's jazz nostalgia for me. This is a Decca recording. Here is another song that I like very much, and it says here Oscar Peterson piano solo. It's not completely solo, because he has also on rhythm bass Major Holly, but the bass is hardly not heard here. Oscar Peterson is the one that is that you hear the most of, and it's hard enough to find Oscar Peterson solo records, and it's even harder to find it on 78. This is Little White Lies. This is a great piano solo tune that starts in a little bossa style, moves along to a very smooth and jazzy style, and then back to what it was in the beginning. Great tune. On the other side is another great smooth piano tune, Lover, Rodgers and Hart composition, carousel recording. Moving along a little faster here, as I said in my jazz video when I showed my jazz records, I have a favorite in Benny Goodman, and I have a lot of Benny Goodman 78s. One of them are Limehouse Blues with Benny Goodman Sextet. And on the other side, If I Had You, Columbia recording. This is also a great label, Columbia's 1942 Super Rhythm Style Series. When you see it, when it says that, you know that it's a great swing music. Here is another very special favorite of mine. If you're asking me which is my favorite jazz song, one of them that will come to my mind are Early Autumn by Woody Herman. That ballad, the mood that ballad gives me is fantastic. Walking around in Stockholm, in the old town, it's dark and little lights hanging on the walls, and fantastic mood. I really love that song, and I was very happy to, on a second-hand store, to find 78 Capitol recording of Early Autumn. On the other side is a much faster tune called Keep of the Flame that also is great. Stan Getz, fantastic saxophone player on this one. Is definitely a masterpiece. And it's another of the same band, another classical Woody Herman song, also with Stan Getz, even though he's not having kind of a major part in this one. I'm talking about Four Brothers. It's also a proof of a great label, Columbia's Swing Music Series. Always greatest swing music on that label. Keen and Peachy is the name of the B-side here. Also a great tune. Swedish jazz music. I was very happy to find a 78 with Lars Gullin. Maybe the best saxophone player in Sweden. Not that easy to find Lars Gullin 78s actually. This is Blue Lou and Laura, and unfortunately someone has written on this, but still the record itself is in very great shape. We're having here the elite of jazz musician from Sweden. Rolf Eriksson, trumpet player, also a jazz musician that is well known in America. Leppe Sundvall trombone and Åke Persson trombone. Here is the one that I was very happy to find. I was extremely happy to find it. One of my absolute favorite jazz albums is Birth of the Cool by Miles Davis. In my book, might say that some of Miles Davis' later albums are better, but in my opinion, the absolute best Miles Davis album is Birth of the Cool, and I was happy to find it on vinyl. I was happy to find it on single, and I was also happy to find Budo and Move from that album on 78, re-release on Capitol. This is his famous nonette, and maybe some of the best jazz recordings ever made. I'm always more happy to find bebop music on 78 because it's so easy to find big band music on 78. I like big band, but it's a little more sport to find bebop. I guess it's also the same in America and other parts of the world for you out there in VC, that when you see 78 records with jazz, is lot more often you see big band tiles than bebop tiles. But then of course it's a lot easier of course to find original vinyl recordings with the bebop music. But this 78 or more original style is first release of a jazz song, and it makes it more genuine in my opinion. And here we have the Jerry Mulligan Quartet, Bark for Barksdale and My Funny Valentine, and it's Jerry Mulligan with Chet Baker on Carousel. Here is a big band leader that I talked about in my jazz video. I said I was a huge fan of Benny Berrigan and his orchestra. I think that Benny Berrigan is very underestimated, and I was happy to find 78 RPM with Benny Berrigan. This is one of his most famous songs, I Can't Get Started, on one side, and one of his best songs on the other side, The Prisoner Song. I think I mentioned that in my jazz video. This is his master's voice. Here is another band that I listened to many times, that I really like. This is bebop music in its finest moments. This is Chubby Jackson and the Fifth Dimensional Jazz Group. You also have a vocal by the Nudniks here. This is Lemon Drop and Crying Sands. I have a couple of 78s with Chubby Jackson and the Fifth Dimensional Jazz Group. Fantastic jazz songs, all of them. This is Chubby Jackson, Frank Sokolov, Conte Candoli, Terry Gibbs, Lou Levy and Denzel Best on Q-Paul. Here is another example of good bebop music. Unfortunately, these sleeves are not in the best shape, but still they are good enough to keep the albums in great shape. This is Lee Cooney's Sextet, and Lee Cooney's with Miles Davis and Sal Mosca, Billy Bauer, Anna Fishkin and Max Roach. This is Ecstatic and Highback on Metronome Records, Metronome Swedish label. So this is a Swedish release. And speaking of Swedish, I mentioned in my jazz clip, I'm a huge fan of Stan Hasselgaard. Åke Hasselgaard is named in Sweden, who became a huge success in America. Played with Benny Goodman. And Benny Goodman is not here on this record. You have here Arnold Ross, Rollo Garberg, Frank Bode, Bernie Kessel and Red Norvo. And this is one of the most classic Stan Hasselgaard songs, Swedish Pastry. And on the other side, Who Sleeps. He also did this Swedish Pastry with Benny Goodman. And if you find it, listen to it and enjoy it, because it's a marvelous meeting of two great clarinets. Capitol recording. Here is a record I was very happy to find. This is Jazz at the Philharmonic, Norman Grant's little project, Perdido, and this song is long, so it's split up in two parts, one on each side. And released on Carousel's Swedish release. Also fortunate to have an entire LP box with Jazz at the Philharmonic. And Jazz at the Philharmonic in this version are Alanis Jacket, Philip Phillips, Bill Harris, Howard McGee, Joe Jones, Ray Brown and Hank Jones. Here is Swedish jazz music. This is on his master voice, Arne Domnerus Quartet, with Arne Domnerus, Gunnar Svensson, Jack Norén drums and Yngve Åkerberg bass. Gunnar Svensson plays piano. This is Party for Press and That Black Old Magic. one of Nomire's marvelous saxophone player, maybe one of Sweden's best jazz musicians. Unfortunately, is not among us anymore. I mentioned good big band music, and we have here example of big band music that are easy to find. Artie Shaw, but still is great big band music. Temptation, but even more fun it was to find on the other side Artie Shaw and the little band that he had, his Gramercy 5, Cross Your Heart. Once again, a sleeve that aren't in best shape. We have a Brunswick release here. This is more big band, Jimmy Lansford and his orchestra with vocal chorus. Margie and Like a Ship at Sea. And to finish off, I'm just going to show some 78s that are very dear to me. I'm very happy to find meetings of American and Swedish jazz musicians. American jazz musicians did during the 40s and 50s visit Sweden and played with the musicians we have here, and some of them were released also on albums, on 78s, and here is the one that I cherish very high. It's very special, and this is Teddy Wilson Trio with Teddy Wilson piano, Yngve Åkerberg bass, and Jack Norén drums. I got rhythm and I can't get started. And lastly but not least, Stan Getz Quartet. Stan Getz also played in Sweden many times, became good friends with a lot of Swedish musicians, and here is with the Bengt Hallberg piano, Gunnar Jonsson bass, and Jack Norén drums. Night and Day and Prelude to a Kiss. So with that, I'm going to finish off by saying that I hope to buy more 78 RPMs records in the future. I would be very happy if I find a Boyd Rayburn orchestra on 78, because I have a hard time finding him on vinyl. As I showed in my jazz record clip, I find 2 records with him. It would be so fun to at least have one 78 RPM with Boyd Rayburn. So with that, it's going to be fun to see others 78 records if anyone else answers me and Mr. Mayo's little quest for 78s. But these were some of my 78 RPMs, and with that, I'm wishing you a very nice week, and so long.